So it comes down to this: starting to recognize your old identities that don't serve you, starting to challenge those identities with action, and then you start to get results in the realm of the new identity. Then you start to mold into that person, and now you're a new person that gets different results, and that's just who you are. If you want different results, you got to be different. You have to change. Remember, the more you commit to the principles, the more you commit to the values, and you surrender, that is when results come, because results don't come overnight. They come over time. Procrastination is the fertilizer that makes your difficulties grow. The obstacle is not the weather. You are the obstacle. Today, we are going to talk about how to evolve into a new you. We're going to get a little bit deeper, and so just think about it. But first, one thing that always is interesting for me is to hear when someone tells me, oh, that's cool, like you're natural at sales. I'm just not a salesperson. It just isn't me. For two reasons. One, I was not good at the skill of selling. I actually sucked, but I overcame my lack of skill with work ethic and persistence. So that's how I got initial results, just pure hardcore charisma and all that stuff. And then I learned the skill of selling along the way. I actually had to study like crazy. And two, because that's not me, what does that even mean? Someone that isn't a salesperson might not feel naturally driven to do sales, but that doesn't mean you can't learn how to sell. I might not enjoy coding or heavy computer work, but I can sure figure it out if I need to. I just had to change our website and do all sorts. But if I said, oh, I can't do that, I'm not a computer guy, I can't change the website for Yelp, then all that's doing is holding me back, right? I didn't enjoy it, but I did it. Same thing with someone that says, I can't remember names. Well, maybe that's just your excuse for not knowing the skill to remembering names. Back in the day, I read How to Win Friends and Influence People. It still has some good principles, one of which is remembering someone's name. But what I would do back then was they tell me their name. I'd say, hey, how do you spell that? Didn't matter if her name was Rebecca or Joseph. I still asked. But for some reason, I need a visual. Like I need to see how it's written for me to remember it. And then I'd use their name a few times. Then after we were done, I'd picture them with their name and the way it's written. And I'd think about that. And then I would remember their names. So when I was selling cars, I remember everyone's name. And they come in, hey, how's it going, Joe? He's like, oh, this guy remembers my name. I couldn't remember names very well. And then all of a sudden, I could remember names better. Was I just bad? Was I just not a name remembering person before? Or did I just not have the skill and I didn't want to learn it? So you want to let go of this, oh, this is just who I am mentality. I'm not saying you lose your morals and forget your principles and values and special things about yourself. I just mean don't cling to an identity that might not serve you. Again, really think about this one because this is a bit more subtle. It deals with the deeper parts of yourself, which are naturally harder to see unless you have outside people, letting you know, because you don't know what you're blind to because you're blind to it. But here's the thing. If you want better results, guess who has to change? In order to take on bigger level things, guess what? You need to get bigger level. That's how that works. Anytime the business is stagnant, like I get frustrated, I'm wondering why we aren't progressing. And then I have to slow down and go, all right, only thing I can blame is myself. I'm not the type of person that can run that type of business. So I need to get bigger. Period. Let's say you're pizza and ice cream every day, but you want to get into shape. Guess what? If you hold on to, well, I can't diet because I'm a pizza and ice cream person. That's who I am. You might have a hard time. You might have to drop that old identity and learn to be a new person. It's not denying that you love pizza and ice cream, okay? But accepting that maybe pizza and ice cream doesn't serve you at the highest level and something else does. You might say, well, wait a minute. Well, isn't that changing who I am? Like I'm a pizza ice cream person. But who is that? So in sales, you might see yourself a certain way. You might see yourself as not that good. Guess what? If you want a new you, the old you has to die. As in, let those vices go. Let the old timid, scared, underperforming you pass away. Hold a funeral service for them. Grieve that old loss. Put a tombstone. Move on. And also, by the way, here we go. To prove you watched this video, send an email to me, Taylor at directsolar.energy, with the subject line, old me obituary, so I know you actually watched this. All right. So it can be painful. It can be hard to let the pizza, the ice cream go, right? But if you want to level up, that is what you need to do. I remember very distinctly, I saw myself as this digital nomad, live out of my backpack and handbag, move wherever I want. I hardly own anything. I'm not committed or attached. I'm a free man. I'm free. When I was selling solar, I still had that. It was holding me back because here I was committing to something that required me to stay planted, grow my pipeline, really commit to something. And then one day on Royal Valley Drive in Grand Prairie, I had to recommit. I'm looking at my one of my installs and go, okay, this is it. That old nomad me is gone. I'm fully committing to this, to the solar. I'm planting my flag. I'm going to do this 2 years all in, blinders on, no looking around, no looking back. 2 years, I'll come up from air. Old me is gone. I made that decision. It almost felt like I was giving up. Like I was abandoning this identity for myself that I cherished. I was giving into the system or whatever. I felt sad and I was down. But man, that decision made all the difference. I'm glad I let that old me die and move on to the new me. That is what was required. Like this company wouldn't exist if I was still Nomad TJ. I got Lyme really bad. I just could not let go of the fact that I was getting weaker and weaker. Before Lyme, my favorite thing was to lift weights. I loved heavy deadlifts and squats. I loved going out, eating sushi. I ran a marathon. I was strong, but every time I worked out, I was damaging myself with the Lyme. Every time I ate out, I got inflamed. And eventually I was like, all right, you got to let that old identity go. You're no longer strong. You're weak or whatever. The fit strong TJ could no longer exist. And I had to mourn that. Rest in peace, deadlift TJ. I'll let it go and move on. That was the only way to actually start improving and get better. I had to reform a new identity based on the circumstances. What are you holding on to? What are you saying is you, but really isn't? Are you really an always late person? Or is that just some BS excuse you've created in your head for yourself? Does that old identity need to die so you can be a always 5 minutes early type of person so your professional life can explode? So you want these new results. In order to have these new results, you need to kill the old you. As long as you see yourself as a person that is always late, then you'll always be late, and that's not a good thing. You think that's you, but it isn't. I hear people sometimes say, oh, I just have ADD, or I can't really focus, just who I am, or I'm just not a driven person. I'm just not good with back end, so I can't work my jobs, blah, blah, blah. The real truth is, if nobody was available, you absolutely needed to learn how to run credit and make a solo proposal tomorrow in order to close a deal worth $100,000 in commission on one sale. You're going to figure it out. What happened to bad back end person? That's not real. I'm not saying spend all your time on your weaknesses. I'm not saying master proposals back end, because the main thing is master getting in the house, talking to people. You can figure out the rest on the way. Like the back end is not the most important part of sales. I'm just saying this to challenge those excuses. And here's the other thing. Once you make that decision, all it takes is small actions. You start to change. Because once your brain sees real results in reality, it has to change. Before sales, I only made like $2,000 a month. My first month selling cars, I made $8,000. Instantly, my identity is like, oh, I'm an $8,000 person. Solar City, I made $55,000 one month. Anything less than that, it hurts. So I didn't think I was the best. I thought I'm good, but I'm not that good. Then 1 month, I hit the top spot in power rankings for the whole country. And then my brain just had to go, oh, I guess I am good. All you have to do is make one successful solo proposal, and then your brain goes, oh, I guess I'm not so bad at it. All you have to do is get referrals successfully one time. And then your brain goes, oh, I'm someone that people give referrals to. All you have to do is show up on time to everything for a week, and your brain goes, oh, I'm a punctual person. All you have to do is go to the gym for a couple of weeks or a month, and now you are someone that goes to the gym. Your identity changes. So it comes down to this: being aware that this dynamic exists, starting to recognize your old identities that don't serve you, starting to challenge those identities with action, and then you start to get results in the realm of the new identity. Then you start to mold into that person, and now you're a new person that gets different results, and that's just who you are. If you want different results, you got to be different. You have to change. Once you start changing who you are and you get those new results, your life is transformed, and that's what we're all after. We're after that growth. You start doing that, and then you're going to look back a year or two from now and think, I've come a long way, instead of I'm still in the same situation. The whole point is not just to be the same person, reliving the same year over and over and over. The whole adventure is growing into who you could possibly be and seeing the max limit of that before you die. So slow down a bit with your thoughts. The next time you tell yourself something about your identity that is an identity that holds you back, right? It's not really you. Ask yourself what a person would do with the new type of identity that you envisioned, then take that small action in that direction. Do that repeatedly for a year and see what happens. You might be disappointed at what you could achieve in a day or a week, but trust me, you'll be surprised just how much massive results you can get in a year of concentrated effort. So don't let your old identity hold you back. Challenge it, grow, put it to rest, let it die, hold a funeral service, become a new you, and get those new results.